Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Michaud. I am a member of the digital learning team with Anglophone School District West. I want to welcome to LEARNEast, the 2021 session. This is A2 Teams 100, the basics with Miguel Mojica. Just a reminder to check and make sure your mics are closed. You may leave your video on if you wish. If you have any questions during the session, just please add them in the meeting text chat window, and at the end, our presenter will have a Q&A if we have time. So without any further ado, I will leave the floor to Miguel.
Thank you so much, Mark. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very excited for everyone to learn more about Teams. But one thing that I will do is also turn on my video for a bit at the start. So welcome, everyone. So you know that I am here with you. I'm also joined by my friend and colleague, Tim, who will also help out in the chat in case, you have a lot of questions coming through. So don't worry, your answers will be, your questions will be answered throughout the presentation. Now, one thing that I will note for today and for the rest of the sessions that Microsoft will be presenting all about, the first three would be about Teams, and then the last one would be about Flipgrid. The things that we'll be talking about today really is about all of Teams. So this first part is the basics of it, right? So we'll be going through what I'm using and what it will actually look like and why you're going to use it. So our agenda for today is really an overview of what Teams can be done with, right? And then the Teams 200 will be really more about managing some of your settings with Teams and understanding meetings and things like that. And then the third one will be really all about classroom management and assessments and gradebooks. We want to let those topics breathe a bit as well, because it will be a lot of information coming through. So this is our agenda for today. And we're going to go through a quick PowerPoint slide just to talk about what is Teams in the first place, right? And other than the fact that, hey, I already have it and this is why I'll use it, right? This is why I'll use it. Why would you actually think of even using it aside from it being the platform, that you can teach on? Really, there are a lot of different parts of Teams, but the most important part of it is when it comes to just Office 365, the whole suite that Microsoft um, um, uses for educators as well. Teams is the hub. Teams is the center for everything, right? Teams is the center for everything. You will be able to collaborate with everyone that's here, right? Whether they are a teacher, a student, staff member, it doesn't matter. As long as they're part of your email tenant, right? They would be there, and you can message them if you need to. You can connect with a lot of other people. Have those virtual classrooms be part of your day to day. And when you start, right, when you start in the day, when you go into Teams, you'll be able to see what you need to do for the day with your meetings. And then at the end, just to kind of wrap up, make sure that you know what's happening for the next day as well. And all of that can be brought together in one place, and that's why it's super useful. So Teams being designed for education really just means that there are different areas of Teams that you can make groups in, and we call them teams, right? There are different class teams, so these are your virtual classrooms. But then there's also things like PLCs, staff, and other teams. The PLCs would be things like, let's say all of the science department teachers, right, are all part of a professional learning community team where they will then be saying that, oh, we're going to a Microsoft, there's going to be a Microsoft training later. Make sure that you go there and everyone can talk about it there too. Um, Staff, on the other hand, is between faculty and staff, and everyone can get together and talk about like what is happening with the school. So let's say policies come through in this one, it's a lot easier to have everything in one place. And then everything else that do not fall into these three categories will really be your other teams, right? After school groups, discussion groups, homework groups, all of that would be under other as well. And we'll take a look at what that means coming through. When you're also in a class team, right? And creating class teams, we'll talk about that later on in this Teams 100, but managing that class team will be later on in the day as well. So we want to make sure that we give you a holistic picture of the whole of all of Teams. But you can also collaborate with OneNote class notebooks, which is if you're part of a class team, then you would have a class notebook that you can share with everybody who's part of that class. But what this doesn't tell you is that there are also staff notebooks. There are also PLC notebooks. It really depends on the team that you're in and how you can collaborate with other people using those tools as well. So all of that is here. There's also things like Teams meetings, which we are part of right now. So you can have these virtual sessions, and you can immediately you're immediately able to connect with other people by just putting a Teams meeting together, or even just directly calling them from your chat, and it just goes into the same space as well. Now, there's also assignments and gradebooks. So with your class teams, for example, there's also something that would be when you want a piece of homework to be submitted, you can have it be submitted and then graded after the fact, right? All of that is here. So you don't really have to get away from outside of it. And then the last little bit, and we'll talk about devices, the last little bit is really accessibility in Teams. Things like Immersive Reader. If you've used that in other Microsoft applications, that is also inside of Teams as well. You'll also actually be able to use in-meeting captions if you so choose to. You can also use different tool sets inside of the Onenote class notebook, and all of those inclusive learning tools. All of that is in here as well. It's all built in. And the accessibility that you find in Microsoft 365 has kind of been rolled into Teams as well. Now, what does this slide mean when it says stay connected across devices, right? Regardless of the device that you're using, what I'm using right now is a Windows device, right? But if you're using a Chromebook, if you're using a MacBook, it doesn't really matter what what device you're using, because you can just go in. All you really need is an internet connection and a browser. And we have Microsoft Edge and we have Google Chrome. That would be the browser of choice for this one. But all of that, even mobile, actually, like regardless of the device that you're using, you can just use Teams as well. And with all of that said, that was just a lot of things that I had to mention. We're going to get out of this one and actually take a look at Teams. And I'm also going to turn off my camera so that you don't just see me waving around during this whole presentation. Now, what we're going to start with is the very start. Where do you get Teams? And here's the thing. There are two options that you can use Teams with. One is you can have it installed, right? You can have it installed on your computer and you just open it up just like a normal program. So Teams would be part of your computer, and you actually see it here down where I am. But this one is me. This one is my actual Teams account, right? So I'm using that to join us for this presentation. There is also one more way, which is going through your browser, and we're actually going to be using the browser version for today. Miguel, is there a lot of difference between the browser version and the desktop version? And I will tell you right now, not as much as you'd think, right? It really just depends on what you want to do, and we'll call out those differences. But for the purposes of our Teams 100 today, it really doesn't matter whether you're using the browser version or the desktop version, right? And the reason why I use the browser version is because we can actually start on this page, which is our portal.office.com. If you go to portal.office.com, or you just sign in into office.com and you use your how do you say this? You use your credentials. You just go in, sign in as your with your username and password. It takes you to a page that looks similar to this. And what this is the Office 365 portal. And now we're going to jump into Teams from this page, but I did want to call out one thing. On the left side of the screen, you will find all of the different applications that you actually have that are available to you when it comes to your education license. And we'll actually scroll down here and we can find Teams on the left side. But the reason why this is important is because you can actually take a look at other applications directly from this page. So if you're ever curious and you think, do I have Microsoft Forms? You can actually just go into this and find all of those applications that you have available to you. Now, you might also ask, Miguel, I don't know what any of these icons mean, or I forget about them, right? You can always go to the top left of the screen where you can find this waffle menu or this app launcher, and we can click this. And from here, we can find Teams as well. But also you'll see all of the other different applications that we have, like Yammer, Forms, Sway, all of that is here. You can just take a look at it as well. So we're going to just jump into Teams. And one final note that I'm going to say before we just go in is that on the upper right of the screen, we will find our profile, and we see that we are using a demo account by the name of Kara Coleman. Kara Coleman is a fictional person, and Kara Coleman works for a fictional school called Pineview. And we will be using this account for the remainder of the session. You'll be seeing Kara like all throughout all of these different teams trainings that we'll be doing today. But Kara Coleman is basically, they are a teacher inside of this fictional school, and they have all of the permissions open. So there might be some things that you might not be able to see on your end, but this is what a default account will be. All right, this is what a default account will be. So if you ever see the name Kara Coleman, just know that it is actually us using this account. So we're just going to jump into Teams. We already have it here on the top, so we can click through, and then this will pop open our Teams application. And here are a few things. One, I actually have it zoomed in so that it's easier to see during this session. But we'll just zoom out a bit so we can get a full overview of the whole application. On the left side of the screen, we will find our left rail, and we call this our me space. It is our me space because everything that is important to me is actually here. If someone messages me, if a team that I need to find that I am part of, it's all here. Everything that pertains to me, you can find in here as well. When you go into a team or a chat, let's look at physical science, right? We just click into a team. At the top of the screen, you will find your general, and then posts, and then files, right? All of that is here. Or astronomy, right? All of that is here. Now, with that said, this is what we call our we space, because this is where we all together work towards a common goal. Regardless of if you're in a virtual classroom or a staff team or a PLC team, it doesn't matter. These are all your we spaces. This is where you can work with other people. All right, this is where you can work with other people. And then the rest of the screen is taken up by our canvas. That's just the marketing term for it, but it's just our canvas. This is where we actually work. Now, I'm going to just zoom in a bit more. I'm just going to go back to our default zoom from earlier, just so it's a lot easier to see. Now, let's go through a few things. On the upper right of the screen, you will find our demo account, Kara, again. This is where you will find what status you're in. If you are, if your calendar says that you're in a meeting, your availability changes as well. This is also where you will find the 3 dots beside this profile picture that you can then click, and you'll be able to find different settings for your teams as well, right? And now these different settings will be dived into later on, like in our Teams 200. But there is one thing that I do want to show everybody for this Teams 100. When you go to your settings, you go to your general, and then you go into layout. This is just how it's normally laid out. We have the grid view for Teams for Education. And we see that there were boxes inside of our teams earlier. There is also a list view that we can change to, and that changes what our teams looks like, right? And we have all of our different teams. Instead of big friendly boxes, it becomes this long list of different teams that we are part of with their channels, which is actually a lot faster to view. But it may not be the best view for you, right? It doesn't compartmentalize like all of these teams into one area at a time. So you can always just go back to your settings and then just choose your grid view again if you want to go back to those to these friendly squares, right? Now, on the upper left of our screen, before we're actually just going to jump over the search bar. We'll talk about this later once we know more about Teams. But on the upper left of our screen, we'll find that waffle menu again, and we'll be able to go into different apps. This one is only possible inside of the browser version of Teams. So it's actually a lot quicker to go through different applications inside of the browser. But that is what waffle menu does here. Underneath it would be your activity. And we'll actually just skip over this for now because we'll just go into chat first, right? This left rail that we have, this me space that we have, these are all divided up into different modules. And when we click chat, this is our, this is what pops up on our screen. Our chat really is, when you think of Teams, usually we think of communication, right? I'm going to message somebody. I'm going to message somebody today, and it's going to be amazing. What chat does is, if we were in physical space, think of chat as if you're standing in a hallway and then you're talking to somebody. If someone walks down that hallway and you want to pull them into the conversation, it's very, very easy as well. That's what chat is. And that's why on our left side, we see all of the different people, right? We see all the different people that we're talking to, or the different meeting chats that we have, or the different group chats that we're part of. So we see that when we click through, these would be the different messaging areas that we have. So we have a group chat with 3 people, right? Deborah, Grady, and Nessa. Remember, we're Kara, so there are actually 4 people inside of this group chat. We also have a one-on-one chat with Grady as well. And we also have a one-on-one chat with Bruno, who's part of our IT. And to actually do this, to actually just start talking to somebody, in your chat at the top of the screen, there is a square with a pencil. And what this is our new chat. All right, this is our new chat. We're going to talk to somebody. And we see that there's a to field that pops up. This is where we can then put in a name. We can just put in, let's say if we already were talking to somebody, if I just type Bruno pops up because they're the admin and they are part of our directory. They're part of the school's directory, so they will pop up immediately. And we can click through. And you'll actually see, because we're already talking to Bruno, we actually see their history that's already here. So it gives us that option immediately, right? If it's someone that we've never talked to one-on-one before, let's say Deborah. I've not talked to Deborah before on this account. Notice that there's nothing that pops up, right? There's nothing that pops up in here as well. So what we can do is we can just put Deborah's name and we can click here at the bottom, type a new message. And when we type a new message, right, all of that is here. And then I can say, hey, Deborah, and then just send it through using the icon on the lower right, or just pressing enter. And immediately, right, we have a conversation. If we didn't have a conversation yet, we saw at the very start that it says, hey, you're starting a new conversation with this person. And the good thing about Teams is that it actually just keeps your conversations. So you can scroll up if you ever feel that you missed something, or if you ever feel that, oh, I need to look at something from, 7 days ago or from last week. I need to take a look at this chat. You can just scroll up, no problem, because the chat is persistent. Now, a few things that you can do. One, at the bottom of the screen, we were able to send a message through using our type a new message. Now, underneath this box would be different options. And really the most important one that I always tell people is this very first one, which is the formatting box. And if we click this, notice how 1, our box gets bigger, and 2, there are actually formatting options at the top of the screen. We can actually make our text look as much, as different as we want to. And what I can do is, let's say, hey, Deborah, you press a comma. And when I press enter, instead of it being sent, when I press enter, it actually gives us a line break. Our cursor goes down the next line. Because we have a bigger box, what Teams is thinking is that, hey, Miguel clicked this format icon, they're going to be sending a longer message. So it's not, it's not a quick back and forth. Why would you ever use this? Things like maybe don't forget about the deadline for these reports tonight, right? Like, let's say, and then you can even put in bullet points. You can press a dash, press space, put bullet points in. Report 1, report 2, exam 1, right? Think of it as if you're sending an email, but through just Teams. Because it's a lot easier for you to just grab somebody's attention on Teams and say, hey, here you go. This is something important. Make sure that you take a look at it. And then I can, again, we're even formatting it like an email. Now, if this was important, right? If this was important, other than just formatting it and making sure that we put our bullet points in, there's also an important button here. And if we click this, it gives us 3 options. The first one is standard, which is your message will just go through as normal. The second one is just marking it as important. And marking it as important, notice how now there's some red text in block letters. It just says important. And what does this do? What this does is it actually gives the person who's receiving it an exclamation point on their end. So we can actually send this. There you go. So I sent it through by clicking this button on the lower right, and we see that there is an important message. Hey, Deborah, don't forget about the deadlines for these reports tonight. Everything's here. Now, another option for our delivery right here is we can click this, and there's also an urgent message. And now I will advise caution on the urgent one, because the important one is good because it just gives everybody a highlight, right? But the urgent notification means that they will get dinged 10 times over the course of the next 20 minutes. So every 2 minutes, they will get a notification. Another 2 minutes, they will get another notification. So it's really, really quick. In about 2 years that I've used Teams, I've never used an urgent message. So I do advise caution. You can use it, no problem. But again, they will just get notified over and over again. I've always found that important has been okay. To grab somebody's attention. Now, another thing that you can do is, let's say I'm just going to send this back as standard. Aside from just sending full text here, there's also your file attachments. Now, when we send something through email, right, we can send through file attachments as well. How files work within Teams is a bit different. Because of the persistence of the chat, the files are also persistent. So you know how in emails, an attachment is in the email itself when you go in, right? Is in the email itself. When you click your paperclip icon, you'll be able to actually upload something from your computer. And what this does is it actually gives the file into the chat itself. So it's in the chat. It's not just in one message, right? It is in one message, but you'll see what I mean. If I just select this Amazon rainforest as our file here, so it just uploads through. Here's a file to help for later, and then just send it. One, you'll notice that the whole attachment is now here. We've shared this Amazon rainforest document to Deborah as well. And from here, you can find that there's 3 dots. There's 3 dots on the right side of the title. We can click the 3 dots and we can actually edit this in Teams, open this in the desktop app, or open it in the browser. We'll see this again later when it comes to editing it in Teams. But we can find that our Amazon rainforest, we can just click through, and immediately, without leaving the application itself, we're still in Teams, we are able to just join into the document and be able to use it through, right? Now, this works regardless of if you're talking to a faculty member, if you're talking to a staff member, if you're talking to a student, all of this will work. So if someone sends you a file, then you'll just be able to go in and just edit it. Now, I can close this because we'll talk about some of these other buttons later inside of our Teams. But from here, if we ever lose a file inside of a chat and we think I could have sworn that I sent Deborah this specific file, if you go to the top in our WeSpace, right, we've just been hanging out in the chat section. There's a file section as well, and all of the different files that we have sent to somebody through chat, all of that actually shows up in our Files tab. And this is a lot easier to find than scrolling up through the rest of your chat history. Now, with that said, we're just going to go back into chat. And I'll just call out a few other things here. There are more things that you can do inside chat, things like sending emojis, sending GIFs, sending stickers, right? It's really up to you. If you kind of want to do that, no problem. And you have other options here as well. But we won't go through that one, not right now. But you will see them again later on, especially in the other parts of our teams. Now, what if I wanted, right? What if I wanted to add another person to this chat? We've just been talking in the hallway. We've just been talking in the hallway, and then someone's walking down the hallway, and we want to include them in our chat. We can, one, go back into our new chat here, and then just type all of the names of the people that we want to have included. Deborah, Grady. I can even include a student like Adele, who's a student of this school. And when I type a new message, you'll see that you're starting a new conversation again, Adele, Deborah, and Grady. All four of you will be part of this group chat. Now, going back to Deborah's chat, however, if you wanted to just add, if you wanted to think like, oh, let's bring in this person here. If you go to the upper right of your screen, there is an add people button, 2 silhouettes and a plus sign. We can click this, and then we can find that we can add more people. So let's add Grady. Let's add Nestor as well, who's the principal of this fine school. Oh, no, they're faculty. I think Alan is the principal. Perfect. And we can add them through. Now, I'll show you one good, I'll show you one of the good things about Teams is that when we actually add people in, all right, when we add people in, you'll see that Deborah's chat is here on the third line. And we see that we have a new chat, Alan, Deborah, Grady +2, because all of your one-on-one chats, regardless if they're a student or a faculty member, it doesn't matter. All of your chats are going to be private. As long as it's one-on-one, it's always going to be private. Anything that you say to Deborah will not show up in the group chat. That's why they make a new one, right? That's why they make a new one. So if I say hello group, all of these people will now have this this message as well, right? Because it's a group chat. So now you're standing in the hallway with a bunch of other people talking as well. You will have the same options that you can use with the previous single chat. You can format your messages. You can send, you can send important messages and urgent messages, and you can still send people different files as well. Now, if I wanted to add another person here, we can go to the upper right. But now we have a list of people who are part of the chat. And this is one thing that I will caution you on when it comes to just using chats inside of Teams, is that when you're looking through this list, if I hover over anyone, notice how it is so easy to just go over to the X mark on the right side, and I can just remove somebody immediately. Alan is the principal of this school, but I can just remove them from this group chat, and they will immediately just be gone. They'll still have access to the chat history that they were part of, but they won't see anything else after that one. And the thing is, and this is what I'm cautioning you with this one, is this specific option is open even to students. The hierarchy is flat. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're in a group chat, you can just remove somebody from the group chat at any time. Okay? So this is going to be important later, especially when it comes to security of your classes. Now, on the upper right again, aside from just removing people from the chat, you can also just add people if you so need to. You can add people. And from here, when you start adding people, there are actually several things that you can do. One is don't include chat history. You have the option. And you can say, you know what, we'll add Alex, who's also a student. Let's not include the chat history, and you'll see what happens. if I don't include the chat history, you'll still see a system message that says, hey, this person added Alex Wilbur to the chat. However, if I add another person and go to the top right and let's say add people here, and I include all chat history, and I say, let's bring Adele in, and I click add, everyone else inside of that group chat will now know that Kara Coleman has added Adele Vance to the chat and then shared it with shared all of your chat history with Adele. So you know if someone can see your messages or not, right? Again, chat history is very important because it's persistent. You have to make sure that you know who has access to what, right? Like especially when you're talking about certain things. Because if you share your chat history with one person, then that one person can see all of the files that were also sent in there as well. Right? All of that is here. So that is how group chats work. Now, before we leave this group chat, or sorry, before we leave chat and go into Teams, on the upper right, we can also just click the video call and also the audio call. So you can actually immediately just have an ad hoc meeting or have an ad hoc conversation from this specific chat with the other people that are part of this group. And if you ever think, well, Miguel, I have a lot of different chats that might include similar people. So Adele and Adele, right? Two groups have Adele at the start. How can I make it so that it's a lot easier to filter it through? You can also click the pencil icon that's here, and I can just type the group name and say group 1, and then save this through. So now we have group 1, and we have changed it, and now we can see it a bit better with our list on the left side. Right? Now, moving on from our chat, if chat is the hallway that we're just standing in and we're talking to other people, Teams, on the other hand, is really the different rooms that you can be part of. So you have things like the faculty office, all of that is here. You have the PLC, you have the school staff team as well. And you even have the different classes that you might be part of, right? That you might be part of. With that said, let's just take a look at what examples of teams there are. So one, I'm going to just click join or create team on the upper right. And I'm going to click create team. Now, you don't really have to create a team while we're going along. I just wanted to show you this window. You have, again, at the start, 4 different types of teams. The first one is your class team, and it gives you some options on why you're going to use it. So these are class discussions, group projects, assignments, all of that good jazz. It's a teacher-student relationship. On the right side of it is your professional learning community, which is an educator working group. So faculty come in and say, oh, we have some new curriculum. Let's all talk about it. Regardless of what grade they're in, all of the teachers are here. Then you have a staff one, which is for admin and, faculty development, which is a bit of a different team as well, because staff is now included in here, not just teachers. And the right side is everything else that don't fall into these 3 categories. What did these look like? If we click cancel, and I go back on the top left, I can go into, let's say, we'll use the, should be physical science one. Okay, perfect. Actually, we'll use the language arts one. Okay, now, you'll see that one, we have different channels here at the bottom. And at the top, this is actually really new because it used to be that these tabs were at the top of the WeSpace. But now we have different tabs as well. And we see that the very first one is called Class Notebook. If we click Class Notebook, this is the shared OneNote that everyone in this class will have because it's a class team. So that's why if you take a look at the different channels, there is the general channel, which is really for onboarding, and this is where the students will find the different class materials if they so choose to. And then the channels here at the bottom are things that the teacher has made to say that this is a book club. This is the class check-in one, right? All of that is here. The group work channel is also here. So they can just join in at any time. Now, you have different channels that you work in, and how teams are separated out is each individual channel will have its own WeSpace at the top. So if we take a look and say group work has different posts from the book club, they're different topics altogether, right? And if you go into files, for the book club, there's a reading checklist. And if I go into the, let's say the reading channel, there's reading notes, because it's different sections of this team, and all of these have specific uses for them. So that's why your different files and your different posts are all in their respective channels, so that people can just come in and say, oh yeah, I forgot, the group work is in the group work channel. This is where I'll be putting my group work together. This is where we put it through. And all of that is here. Right? Now, another thing that I want to call out is in our, just after a class notebook, because this is a class team, and again, it's a teacher-student relationship, there are also assignments and grades. So we can say that, hey, these are the different assignments that we have. So make sure that, when you send it through and you give it back, you can then grade it when it's done. And we can actually see a grade book for everyone who's part of this class team. So we actually only have 4 students apparently inside of this demo team, but that's okay, right? And we see some grades that they've already done. We've already graded them on. So all of that is here, right? And then the last little bit is also fairly new, like the insights. This one just kind of gives you how many people are engaging inside of your team. This one is going to be for later on with your Teams 200, but I did want to show you that you can actually check on people in a quick snapshot and say, oh, there's 5 missed submissions in our assignments. And you can immediately take a look at that as well. So all of that is here. Just one quick highlight if you'd like. So all of that comes through. Now, let's get out of this one, go back to all of our teams, and let's take a look at what is different with, let's say, a PLC. So one, you'll see that the channels are immediately here. And because, Teams is constantly updated, the PLC notebook is still here in the general channel. But notice how it doesn't say class notebook. It says PLC notebook because it's a PLC. It's a professional learning community. So this is a separate team that you can be part of, right? That these teachers are going to be discussing different things when it comes to the science department. All of that is here. But it works the same way as a class team. The only difference is really that the hierarchy is not really a teacher-student relationship. It's really more of just like we're all working together. We're all at the same level, right? If we look at the Files tab in our general channel, this is where a lot of these different areas are going to, or these different files are going to be. Everyone has access to this as well. The PLC notebook, similar to the class notebook, everyone has a shared, right? A shared notebook that you can all use together. But this is where, this is where the whole team can just work together and say, let's take a look at our notes, right? Maybe our meeting schedules, all of that is here. And that can come through. Now, another thing that we can talk about is really, if let's say we go into the Pineview school staff, right? I just exited out of the PLC and I go back and I go into my staff team. If we take a look, we have a staff notebook, right? So a quick eye test to know what team you're in is to just look at what notebook it's using. Is it a class notebook? Is it a staff notebook? Is it a PLC notebook? So you know what kind of team it is. And the staff notebook is really for the admin and the faculty to kind of work together and say that, hey, the relationship is that the faculty would be the students and then the admin is the one pushing out the information, right? Like that is how it's kind of divided up into. But you have different options here as well. You have the different channels. All of these are different. And when we go back, the last one is the example of the health research, which this one is an other team. And you'll see in your general channel, right? Even at the top, there's no mention of any kind of notebook. It just says posts and files. No staff notebook, no PLC notebook, no class notebook. What this is just a very simple, here's a team, make some channels in it, and you should be good to go, right? All of that is here. So that would be the 4 different kinds of teams that you can use. Now, along with this, right, let's just take a look at what we can do inside each of these different areas. Now I'm going to just go into language arts again. And let's take a look at the general channel chat, or the general channel of this specific team. If we go into our posts, right, you'll see that it looks slightly different than the chats that we were using earlier. These posts are really separated from each other. In the same way that our chats from earlier, when we send a message through, it just immediately goes through. This one, on the other hand, notice at the very bottom, it's not a text box immediately. It just says new conversation. Because if I click this, then the box pops up. But it does say start a new conversation, because if I say, hello, everyone, this is me starting a new conversation, right? When I press enter, notice how there is now a reply button underneath, because how posts work is really more of a threaded conversation, right? It's really more of a threaded conversation. This means that if you start another conversation underneath thinking that you're going to reply to this one, then that is not what happens. What it will just do is, amazing. Thanks, Kara, for the example, even though I'm already using Kara as well. When I send it through, notice how they're just different. They're just separated from each other because you have to click reply instead. And I can say, I'm replying to this post. And now you can see that there is actually a division, right? We have the very first post, and everything else underneath it is a reply to this post above. And people can start talking in here as well. All right, and we see Fatima right here. Can someone be my peer review partner again? We see that there's different replies from different people. Enrico said me, and then Adele just says here. And then Kara just gives some good encouragement to the students, right? All of that is just here. So we can see what those threads look like, right? We can see what those threads look like. So again, use your reply if you're trying to reply a new conversation, if you're just trying to make a new post. Now, what can we do inside of this team? And that's why we took a bit of time with the chats. We actually have the same options underneath this box, just like our chats. The only difference is that we cannot send an important message. We can't send an important message, and we cannot send an urgent message. What are some things we can do, though? If, let's say, we're going through, let's take a look at, all right. Fatima has been trying to find a peer review partner for forever. There you go. So let's say, right? Let's say we're trying to reply to something, but it's a long thread. It's a long thread, right? What we can take a look at, right? We can take a look at is we can click reply, and what we can do is we can say press the @ symbol. And what the @ symbol does is it actually gives you a list of everyone who has access to this channel. Everyone who has access to this channel. And what I can do from here is I can say at Adele, I heard you were the peer review partner. Please take care. Please take care of and let me know what you both need, right? Let's say we're just trying to just get somebody's attention. So even though we cannot we cannot send an important message or an urgent message. We can still press the @ symbol and get somebody's attention that way at any given time, right? And to make it a bit more informal and make it a bit more personal, we can actually remove one part of their name. So we can say Adele without actually removing the tag for that person. So we can tag somebody, and what that will do is they will get a notification in their activity icon that they have been tagged in a post, right? And it's a lot easier for them to just jump in and reply to this immediately. Now, another thing that you can do is, let's take a look at take a look super quick in our book club, right? We go into files. Let's take a look at the checklist that people are using. If I wanted to, right? If I wanted to, I can just upload a file from here immediately. I can just click the upload file. Let's use Introduction to Kites. Once we upload a file in, this one will now be available to everyone who has access to this channel. So now everyone has access to this Introduction to Kites. So if I click here and I go in, we'll actually be able to go in into, oh, give me a second. Apologies for that one. Just gonna move this out of the way. This one is for our other account, but we'll see that one, we have this being edited in Teams right now, and two, right? And two, I can see that from here, we'll be able to just type in and say, this is a change in the document. And any changes that get made into this document will then be part of it as well, right? You'll be part of it as well. So this means that anyone who just joins in, they'll be able to see this change no matter what, right? And I can even bolden this. All of that is here. And if someone comes in, right? If someone just comes in, and let's say this one should be the, give me a second. I'm just having my other account come in as well. Perfect. If someone comes in into this file at the same time, we'll actually find them show up on the top right of the screen. So we'll actually see Bruno show up in a bit because they're a part of this, they're part of this team, they're part of this channel, they have access to it. And now we see Bruno show up. And if Bruno was here at the end, you see that we have their name. Hello, audience members. This is Bruno. And Bruno can then make changes by just honestly changing it on their end as well. So we're just putting in a highlight, no problem. All of that is here. And when I'm done and I click close, we'll be able to see that one, when I refresh this, Bruno should be the last person that this modified by section would be in. For some reason, right now, our demo tenant is not playing nice, even though Bruno was the last person here, because this will say a few seconds ago and then Bruno instead, but that's fine, right? It will tell you that this was the person who modified it last. Another thing that you can do is, let's say they don't come in, right? They don't come in at the same time as you. They're just not working together at the same time, and that's fine. You can also leave comments in here as well. And I can say there's a new comment. And I can just highlight this and go @Bruno. Please highlight this passage. And I can even assign it to that person and I can send it through. And now we have a note here that is part of this document now. And Bruno can then, I'll just show you what Bruno sees on the other side. Bruno can then see that, oh, this has been assigned to me, and I can just highlight this whole passage, let's say, and say @Kara, right? Done. And we can reassign it back to Kara, or I can just send this message and then resolve the task, no problem. We still have a history of all of the comments that have been made, but it just doesn't pop up front of mind immediately anymore. The last little bit is if I can click this conversation icon, I can say, hey everyone, I'm in the document right now. So you can have a conversation with people who are here, carry on that conversation. And where does this go? If, as Kara, I click the conversation, I can even see that, oh, perfect, right? Every message that we can use, we can actually also give a thumbs up to this one, right? And if we close this conversation and close the document itself, if we go into posts, notice how, there you go. We have Bruno show up here as well. Hey, everyone, I'm in the document right now. And if I can reply to this and say, great work, everyone, this conversation, it will also show up within our document as well, because we're talking about this specific document. So it shows you the conversation around it as well. All right. Now, that is really how you interact within Teams, right? You can interact within your different channels. You can upload files. You can work on those files together. You can send posts through and have those channels put in place for yourselves as well. We'll take a look at what other things that Teams can offer, but we will, there are other training sessions after this one that will go through a bit more in depth with the rest of Teams. So the next little bit of our left rail, we have our assignments tab. So we can see all of the different assignments that we've given out to people, right? To given out to students. So you can see all of them in one place. We don't have to dig through all of our teams and where they are. You can also find underneath here is your calendar. And just so everyone knows, your calendar is attached to your Outlook calendar as well. However, it only shows you your own calendar. So if you had, right, if you had different calendars, if you had shared calendars and things like that, all of that will not be part of it. It's just you as Kara Coleman and your own calendar. So all of that pops through. Now, going through, if we click actually no, we won't click our three dots. We'll just zoom out. We have more underneath our calendar. We have some different calls. Someone calls us, it's here, and our different files. Remember how we uploaded something into the book club? We can see that file again in here. So if you're ever working inside of a lot of other places, right? If you're working inside of a lot of other places, then it's a lot easier to find the different files that you've been using inside of your files tab, because then you can just go in and say, oh, wait, I was editing something, but now I can find it again if I need to, right? You can just go through all of this. Now, to tie it all together, we're just going to go back to the activity where if anyone mentions you, right? If anyone makes an announcement inside of a channel, if anyone basically tries to get your attention in any way, it goes into our feed. So that's why someone like Bruno replying to a post that we made, we see that immediately. And unfortunately, our demo tenant doesn't have a lot of these because all of the other people are fake. But you can then jump through to where this item is. So you can just jump through and just check to see where all of these are. Now, another thing that is very useful inside of Teams is your search bar at the top. So once we find our feed and we think, oh, cool, I've gotten my bearings, everything's here, I can also use the search bar at the top to search for different people. And let's say I want to find Grady. And I'll see all of the different messages that Grady has sent me and different files that one, Grady has access to, the same thing as me, or something that they've edited that I have access to as well. All of that is here. And I can even change out my different filters and say, you know what? I only want to see a message from Grady just last week. And I can filter it through. And we only have one. Right? We only have one. So it actually lets you see your results a lot easier. Now, Before we get into questions, I do want to show you one more thing. There's a lot of information. You'll be getting a lot of information throughout the day when it comes to Teams as well. And we don't want you to be overwhelmed, right? Between the recording of this one and trying it out for yourselves, on the lower left of your screen, you will find a help button. Our help button, when we click it, it gives you a bunch of different items, but the most important one is the training one. The training one gives you different options. You have different friendly videos. If you ever think that Miguel was talking about chat earlier, I can press chat. I can look for chat and we can start a chat. We can see that we have, right? We have all of these different things and it's divided up into educators or students. So you can see what students also see. And from all of this one, right, we can reply to a conversation. We can use announcements, all of that. We have different screenshots as well as step-by-step instructions on how to actually do it. So you have your training and you have your topics as well. If there's a specific topic that you're looking for, then it's all here. But just remember to use that search bar. Tim was also able to put in a bunch of different links inside of our chat as well. But for those watching the recording, make sure that you click your help button and then use this here as well. Now, that takes us to the end of just our presentation, right? Just a quick overview of what Teams can do. We did focus on chats and Teams because those are the ones that most people will use to communicate with other, with other individuals. So I'll just put this up on the screen, right? Now, there you go. At the end of this, right? At the end of this, there is a survey that we're going to ask about. But before we go into the survey, we will provide the space because we do have 3 minutes, right? And I want to make sure that we answer any questions they may have. I was looking at the chat and not really a lot of questions, and that's okay, right? So while we're waiting, we'll put this up. This is something that Tim has put into our chat. This is a survey just for myself. This is for me as a presenter, not about Teams, not about Microsoft. This one is about me as a presenter and how I did to provide the information for you today, right? So just basically just a grade for me as a presenter. A passing score is a 9 for us, but any feedback is something that I read. Any feedback is truly appreciated. So let me know how I did for this one. And there is also one more thing. There is the Microsoft Educator Center, which is if you go to education.microsoft.com, it takes you to a page that looks like, give me a second, apologies everyone. It takes a look like this. Oh, apologies. There you go. It's this one. And the Microsoft Educator Center is if you ever had any questions about anything when it comes to Microsoft and education, it's actually all here. And today we learned about Teams. For this session, we learned about Teams. So you can actually use a code, right, that we'll be putting it into our into our chat. Give me a second. Perfect. So if you use this code coming through, if you go into your Educator Center and you go, sign in, you can click your profile and then you can redeem achievement code. And if you redeem an achievement code, what this does, and I'll send you the code through inside of our chat. So here you go, everyone. Boom. That is our achievement code. If you click here, you can just copy paste it in this as well. And what this does is it gives you a transcript of the different, if you go into your profile, it can give you a transcript of the different trainings that you've been part of, or if you wanted to get a badge. So it shows up as custom training, instructor-led training for Microsoft Teams. It shows up as 1.5 hours for some reason, but that's okay. But all of that is here. So take a look as well, right? Take a look through. Now, if there are no questions, I'm just checking to see. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for today. We'll stay on for a bit longer, but yeah, good luck with the rest of your sessions, and I hope you have a nice Monday.
Thank you very much, Miguel. That was very informative. So everyone, that concludes today's session. And on behalf of the LEARNEast and our participants, I want to thank Miguel for taking the time to share with us today. A reminder to everyone to please click on the link in the chat. I just posted it now. There's several door prizes. Just use that form once per session. You'll see it in the link. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone at the next session.